Sergio Gutiérrez Benítez was born on May 9th, 1945 in Hidalgo, as the 16th of 17 children. At the age of 22, while struggling with addiction, he pursued theological training in Rome and Spain. He taught philosophy and history at Roman Catholic universities in Mexico before becoming a secular priest. He founded an orphanage for 270 children, but struggled to get funding. Inspired by two 1963 Mexican films about a priest who wrestles to support his orphanage, Gutierrez decided to become a masked luchador to support the orphanage financially. Wrestling under the name Fray Tormenta or Friar Storm, Benítez would go on to have a 2-decade-long career in the ring. In 2006, Jack Black teamed up with Jared Hess, the director of Napoleon Dynamite, to create a film that was loosely based on the story of Fray Tormenta, titled Nacho Libre. The plot follows Ignacio, the son of a Scandinavian Lutheran missionary and a Mexican deacon. Ignacio was orphaned as a baby and raised in a monastery, where he now works as a cook. Dreaming of becoming a luchador despite the monastery's ban on wrestling, Ignacio struggles to provide decent meals for the orphans and is treated poorly by the other monks. He also has feelings for Sister Encarnacion, a new nun at the orphanage. One night, Ignacio is mugged by a thief named Steven while collecting food for the orphans. Frustrated, Ignacio decides to become a luchador to earn money and convinces Steven to join him as his tag team partner. Ignacio adopts the moniker of Nacho. Though they lose their first match, they still get paid and become popular with the locals. They wrestle every single week, and despite their efforts, they never win, which really frustrates Ignacio. Seeking success, Ignacio tries various methods, like folk remedies where he tries to get eagle powers, and seeking advice from champion luchador Ramses, who just dismisses him. Ignacio and Steven try to infiltrate a party for top wrestlers to earn a must-win free-for-all match to become professionals. Ignacio gets expelled from the monastery when his wrestling costume is exposed during mass. He announces his intent to fight Ramses for a cash prize to buy a bus for the orphanage. During the free-for-all match, Ignacio finishes second, losing to Silencio. Banished from the monastery, he lives in the wilderness near a village. The next morning, Steven informs him that Silencio is injured, giving Ignacio the chance to fight Ramses. They team up again, and Ignacio confesses his plan and love to Encarnacion. In the match, Ignacio struggles but is inspired by Encarnacion and the orphan's support. He rallies and defeats Ramses with a diving technique. With his prize money, Ignacio buys a bus for the orphans, taking them, Steven, and Encarnacion on a field trip. Nacho Libre is genuinely one of my all-time favorite movies. Growing up, this movie was on loop constantly, and a lot of that had to do with my younger brother, Luke. So, for some context, my family and I are Catholic. We adopted Luke from the Philippines. The orphanage that we adopted him from was a Catholic orphanage that was run by actual nuns. So, for us, this film was something that my brother could really relate to, having been in a similar environment to the characters in the film. Nacho Libre just has so much heart to it. Everything about it feels so honest and genuine. Aesthetically, it looks like it could be a Wes Anderson movie. While rewatching Nacho Libre for the millionth time, I had a sort of eureka moment. The character of Ignacio might very well be the best Catholic character in cinematic history. He acts altruistically and selflessly. He baptizes and implicitly converts a self-proclaimed atheist who says that he believes in science and not God. He outright fights two demons. Yes, the movie calls these things demons. And at the end of the movie, Ignacio straight up dives out of the ring and spreads his arms out as if he was Christ himself to conquer evil. Throughout the film, Ignacio continuously seeks ways to better himself and the lives of those around him. His attempts to learn from the champion luchador Ramses, despite being rebuffed, shows his desire to improve and succeed, not for personal gain, but for the benefit of the orphans. Ignacio's decision to become a luchador involves significant personal risk and sacrifice. He knowingly breaks the monastery's rules and risks his reputation within the community to ensure the well-being of the orphans. This selflessness is a core tenet of Catholicism, reflecting Christ's own sacrifice for humanity. Ignacio's deep care for the orphans at the monastery is a testament to his compassionate nature. Despite his own struggles and lack of resources, he tirelessly works to provide for the children. Unfortunately, though, a lot of Catholics might disagree with me here. In 2008, when the film was released, the Office for Film and Broadcasting for the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops labeled the film as being morally offensive, with their statement reading as such: "Infantile and dull comedy about a Mexican friar working as a cook in a boys' orphanage who secretly takes up lucha libre wrestling against the rules of his order, while hoping to earn the admiration of a pretty young nun." Let's stop right there for a second. I don't think the person that wrote this watched the same movie that I did. Ignacio doesn't become a luchador to try and impress Encarnacion. She very clearly dislikes wrestling because she views it as a sin, and this is shown several times throughout the film. Even then, it's established at the start of the movie that he's always wanted to be a wrestler since he was a kid. This is years before he even meets Encarnacion in the movie. The inciting incident for Ignacio becoming a wrestler is when he sees a sign promoting a wrestling match with a cash prize. It's clearly stated to the audience that everyone at the monastery is forced to eat slop, so they don't have the money to buy even halfway decent food. Ignacio fully intends to use this cash prize to get better food for everyone, and this is shown as immediately after he gets the money, we see a montage of all the healthy and vibrant foods that the monks, orphans, and Encarnacion get to eat. Their statement continues by stating, "Director and co-writer Jared Hess's unfunny follow-up to Napoleon Dynamite is utterly lacking in charm, wit, or taste, and apart from the pervasive crude humor, the inappropriate puppy love relationship of its protagonists, both in religious orders, whether or not they've taken final vows, precludes recommendation." Yet again, pause. The relationship between Ignacio and Sister Encarnacion is that of mutual respect. Never once do we see them kissing on screen or even physically just touching, unless it's for a joke in the film, like when Ignacio thinks they're about to be attacked, and in that case, it's to protect her from any harm. Ignacio's interactions with Sister Encarnacion and the other monks show his respect and consideration for others. He struggles with his feelings for Encarnacion, but his actions towards her are always respectful and in line with Catholic teachings on love and purity. The most graphic thing they even do together is eat toast in her quarters at night. If the person that saw this views this relationship as inappropriate, then I hope they never see a movie like Blue Velvet, or I think they might actually have a heart attack. Baby wants to Going beyond Encarnacion, Ignacio also shows patience and forgiveness towards Stephen, even after their fallout. Get that cone out of my face! The character of Ignacio goes through a super compelling arc of temptation that honestly seals the deal for me as to why he's the best representation of Catholicism in all of cinematic history. As he continues to make money wrestling, we see him stray from the righteous path. There's a scene in the market where he looks at a massive piece of meat, but quickly turns and eyes some expensive shoes, and purchases those instead. While it is played for laughs, it does show that Ignacio is gradually being tempted by hedonism. Ignacio has lived in poverty his whole life, so it's understandable that now he wants to go out and spend some money on nice clothes. After all, it is human nature. But as the film goes on, he sees past the material goods and realizes that his true motivation all along was helping the orphans. Even after being humiliated and expelled from the monastery, Ignacio still fights for what he believes in and takes the righteous path. He wrestles for God. He fails, he stumbles, he falls, but he still follows God. And in the end, it all works out for him and the ones he loves. Much like his fictional counterpart, Sergio Gutiérrez Benítez is everything a Catholic should be. Nowadays, Fray Tormenta has retired from professional wrestling. He still works at the orphanage as a priest and even inspired one of his children, known as Fray Tormenta Jr., to continue his legacy. I think the best way to end this is reading a verse from Psalm, which is Psalm 82:3, which is, "Defend the weak and the fatherless, uphold the cause of the poor and the oppressed."
Because you're there when I awake, and then you give me the light of day. Because the children with you can play. I think I am. 'Cause when I speak, you're always there. People listen, what I can tell. 'Cause you're my gospel, my daily bread. That's why I think I am.